I'm Mitch Wileczek, and this is Mitch-Information. First guest, we have a very special guest. I want to bring him on, Chris Villa.
I'm from Norristown, Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia. I've been playing since 2013 was when I played my first tournament, so about 9 years, but I was playing casually for a few years before I got into the tournament scene. Got into the game a little late. I was 33 when I played my first tournament. I'm 43 now. It's been quite a life-changing experience getting into competitive disc golf in the last decade.
Yeah, and we're going to get into all that.
Excellent.
So, you just came back from Myrtle Beach Open.
Yeah.
Correct? Which is an 8th year, and you took the win. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
That marks your 10th win of the season this year, bringing you to 63 wins total for your career.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that tournament?
So I had a lot of fun playing it. They called 2 different courses. One is called Splinter City, which is like 2 blocks from the beach in Myrtle Beach. It's a relatively newer course. It's a park-style course. And they have a second course called Socastee. Very technical, very wooded course. So I kind of felt right at home because it's pretty similar to a lot of the courses I play in Pennsylvania. But it was definitely more challenging than I expected it to be.
I got you. So you mentioned that you've been playing for about 9 years.
Yeah.
And your first tournament was in 2013 at the Kilt Lifter Open at Tinicum?
Kilt Lifter Open, I think at that time was a crosstown between Tinicum and Knockemixon.
So you played that tournament. You ended up tying for 3rd with Dylan Horst.
Yeah.
And you averaged $9.99. I think you cashed $85.
My first tournament.
Yes, your very first PDJ tournament.
Yeah, how about, so I think I shot a 1,000 rated round too. One of those 2 rounds.
You did. I think you shot $9.94 and $1,005.
Yeah, that was my first sanctioned tournament.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what drove you to sign up at that moment? At that Kilt Lifter Open in 2013.
So at that time I had a job, I was in sales, and I had a sales territory. And around 2009, my territory for work had changed and started to include the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania. And in that particular job, I had a lot of downtime, like in between my sales appointments.
Okay.
And I was too far to go back home. Like if I had like 2 hours to kill, I lived in Philly at the time. It's like a 90-minute drive. So I started going to work every day with like a change of clothes and a bag of discs, because I had kind of casually gotten into disc golf. I wasn't very good, but I found myself every day getting a quick round and like a lunch round, either at Knockemixon if I was in Quakertown, or I'd play South Mountain if I was near Bethlehem. I'd play Jordan Creek if I was in Allentown. So I got to play a lot of these Allentown, Lehigh Valley courses almost daily, just by myself for years. And so, and I had friends who played tournaments and always tried to get me to play tournaments, and I wasn't really into the competitive thing. And then for some reason the bug bit me in 2013, and you know, I've been playing Knockemixon like all the time for years, and I didn't know how good I was compared to other players, but I just knew I was getting better. I was better in 2013 than I was in 2009. So I decided to sign up and play the Kilt Lifter. Didn't even have a PDGA number at that time. Show up in the morning to sign up for the tournament. Mike Salt was the TD, and he said, "What division?" And I was like, "I don't even know what the options are." And he said, "Pros play for cash, AMs play for plastic." And I thought, well, who would come here and not want to play for cash? So I said, whatever the cash one is, sign me up for that. So he signed me up for pro, and yeah, ended up playing with Devin Frederick and Dylan Horst, these guys that I think that was the first time I had met them, and here we are 10 years later. They're like good buddies of mine. They're like my disc golf family, and that was the day I first got to meet them. It's pretty cool.
Right on. What was your experience of competitive play, not necessarily at that tournament?
Yeah, it definitely was noticeable. Like the pace of play is very slow compared to a casual round.
Yeah.
And I think that can be difficult for players who are just getting into the competitive scene.
And were you always pretty cool, calm, and collected? I've played a few rounds with you, and I've played a tournament with you, and that's kind of your outward appearance. Very cool, collected, not stressing. If there's anything that goes wrong, you kind of just take it in, and you know, I don't ever see you get too high or too low. It's very even keel.
Every day's different. So,
Every day's different.
You know,
okay.
Some days I'm calm, some days I'm not so calm.
Gotcha.
So, you know, it's an intentional part of my disc golf game to just become like a mentally strong player, a mentally strong athlete, and no matter what's going on the inside, I try to maintain a professional, you know, professional kind of like veneer on the exterior. Sometimes I'm super nervous, sometimes I'm super mad, sometimes I'm in a great mood, sometimes not so much. But whatever's going on inside, I try not to let it show on the outside. Mm-hmm. But, you know, ultimately my goal for every tournament I play is to just maintain a very positive mindset, and that's easier some days than others.
That's how you birdie hole 3 at Thompson.
Sure. So you mentioned before we started you have some new discs. What discs do you have that are new, and what are you trying out?
So a lot of my bag, I like to carry like fundraiser discs or tour stamps from a lot of my Team Westside teammates.
Yep.
And so I've recently added a new warship to my bag. This actually has a really cool stamp on it. This is the fundraising stamp for my Westside teammate, Carrie Neal.
Very cool.
She represents Westside in Kamloops, British Columbia. Cool. Proceeds for all the discs she sells, she gives back to women's disc golf in Canada. Right. And so I love to support Carrie, and I hope everybody goes out and buys some of these awesome warships. I know she's got this stamp on a bunch of different molds, but she sent me this warship, and just added that to the bag today.
This is another new addition to the bag. This is the Westside Bear. This has the Jay Plemons stamp on it. Another one of my teammates from Westside. He runs the Westside Discussion podcast and Westside Discussion social media pages. And this is a Moonshine Bear that I've added to the bag recently. Loving it. So I got this brand new Chameleon Boatman, which is a very beefy boatman. So I'm going to try to hit the outside line and hopefully get a nice flare skip and put a 1 on the scorecard.
Keep swinging.
Go in!
Come on.
Yeah, Mitch, I love that inside route. And we got the good skip too.
Yeah. Back to you. After the Kilt Lifter Open, you played 8 events that year.
Okay.
The next year, you played 15 events. So it was apparent that your want to play competitive disc golf was, if not rising, it was at least matching the year prior, and you got an earlier start. You also ended up taking down your first tournament, and you did it back-to-back at the Tinicum Open and the Stafford Open.
Correct.
One was a C/B tier, and one was a B tier. And then this year, you took down 2 A tiers, the Myrtle Beach Open, which we just discussed, and you won Throw Down the Mountain down in Florida.
Yeah.
There you go. You enter in a tournament, and a lot of people are thinking, okay, this is going to be a really tough win. You're kind of a guy that people are looking to beat. Can you talk to me a little bit about that, your career progression?
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, the progression is funny because when you win your first PDGA event, it's a blessing and a curse, because I started playing sanctioned events in 2013. I think you said I played 8 events that year.
Yep.
And I didn't win any of them. I was brand new to the scene, but I had so much fun. That's what defined that year to me, was how much fun I had at each tournament. Riding to the tournament with my buddies in the morning. You know, your friend picks you up at 6 a.m. You drive an hour and a half to the course. You meet with your buddies in the parking lot at lunch. You talk about your first round. After the tournament's over, you go out and get wings. You go out to the bar. You go out and get some, you know, bite to eat, and you're talking about your round. And it was just so fun. Like, I just wanted to do it every weekend. And then the following year, and like that year, I was like getting better. I was like getting on lead cards. And I'm playing against some of the area's top players, so I'm not winning, but I'm getting 3rd, 4th, 5th at a lot of these local events. And then when I finally got my first win at the Tinicum Open, the whole like fun aspect kind of went away, because now I'm like, I want to win, right? So I'm not going to a tournament just to have fun with my buddies anymore. I'm going more with the mindset of like competing at my highest level and trying to win the event. And so getting that first win was really the progression of like just having fun to really taking it more seriously.
I gotcha.
So a blessing and a curse in many respects to get that first W.
Gotcha.
And you know, in the following years, it was like just setting goals for myself and trying to achieve them. Getting my rating to 1,000 was one goal, and I was at 999 for 3 straight years, like between 995 and 999. Every update I went up or down 1 or 2. And I'm proud that once I finally got over 1,000, which I think was in 2018, I've been above 1,000 every ratings update since.
You are correct.
So once I got there, I've never dipped back. My rating dipped a lot this year because I had a couple injuries, but I was like 1016 about a year ago, down to 1005 right now, but hopefully getting that back up closer to 1020 where I want it to be. But once you get that taste of success, albeit at a small local tournament, but just getting that win it's addicting. And so, you know, just setting goals that kind of allow me to kind of get that feeling. I'm all about just setting goals and going after them. And so, you know, getting my rating up was one goal I had. Winning a B tier was, I remember for many years, trying to get that first B tier win. I came in second in so many B tiers. So at the time, those were like huge accomplishments for me. But in retrospect, like, you know, those were pretty small events compared to what the Stafford Open eventually became.
Don't you love when you hear change like somewhere else on the course, right as your disc passes by the basket you're throwing it? Alright, try to toss this one in.
So you're not just a Union fan, you're a Philly fan overall.
Correct.
Okay. Would you consider yourself a Union super fan? Or let's say the true definition of fan, the fanatic?
I'm a Union supporter because that's the vernacular we use for American football.
Okay.
For soccer, but and I know some people who are super fans, and I'm not quite on that level.
I gotcha.
So
paint their faces at the games and everything.
Yeah, I'm not quite that guy. So I would say not a super fan, but a proud supporter nonetheless.
Okay. And were you a soccer player? Is that why you're kind of partial to soccer?
I played soccer when I was very young, and then once I got into skateboarding, soccer team was gone, basketball team was gone, because like what I found in skateboarding was like there's no uniform, there's no practice, there's no coach.
Right.
And a lot of those similarities I found in disc golf so many years later in my life.
Huh. What about it, the individuality and sort of the skillfulness drew you in?
Well, what I found in skateboarding was a couple things. I started getting into skateboarding when I was very young, like literally 9, 10, or 11.
Okay.
And I liked the fact that I could just go out and skate by myself, or I could skate with like my buddy Pete who lives across the street, or I could skate with 4 or 5 guys from my neighborhood. So like you could do it alone, you could do it with one other person, you could do it with a group of friends.
Right.
And there's no rules in that respect. And just like disc golf, man, you can go up to your local course by yourself and play around. Maybe you run into guys you know and you play with them. Play around with your buddy like I'm doing with you, Mitch.
Yep.
And so a lot of correlation between what I liked about skateboarding as a young person and what I found in disc golf in my 30s.
Bring us into the mind of Chris Villa. How do you break down a hole?
So when I have a shot like this, where I know the right side for me is absolute lava, jail, fire, broken glass. That's how I treat it. I want something that's always going to go straight. I'm throwing a Westside adder because this thing only does one thing, which is go left. And so I take my adder and I basically just aim flat, aim straight, and I throw it as hard as I can. and hopefully get in that landing zone down there left side of the fairway that sets me up for an easy approach. That's textbook. Surprise, surprise, the adder went left. Yeah, I like this spot because from here I can go putter, I can go mid-range, I can go pretty much, you know,
right side OB is pretty much completely taken out.
Yeah. So now it's just a matter of, you know, maybe trying to put it in for a nice eagle.
Oh, please. Please don't. Wow.
Or parking it for an easy bird. So the one disc in my bag that I really couldn't live without is this harp, and I love to throw it on this hole. The basket sits in like a little bit of a gully, gives you a little bit of a kind of a backstop to run it hard. And I love the harp for shots just like this, where it's dead straight 250. Hopefully I'll pop it in and show you why I love this disc so much.
Have you got picked up by Westside in 2018. How did that relationship come to be? Were other companies kind of talking to you before and you said about Westside, or, you know, was it a case of loving Westside and all the pieces falling together at the right time?
Kind of none of those things, honestly, because I had never pursued any type of sponsorship. I had a mixed bag for many years, and I had a good friend. My friend Andy was sponsored by Dynamic, and so when they started producing discs in around 2013, started throwing the Trespass and the Escape and the Fugitive and the Judge. And I still had some Discraft mids in my bag, like the Comet and the Meteor.
Right.
And then in 2017, my friend Finley gave me a Warship and a Bard. I think they were the first two Westside molds I ever tried. And I got on film that year playing a B tier against Greg Barsby here in Jersey.
Right.
Greg ended up taking down the win, but I took second. And I think some of the guys at Emporia saw that video on YouTube, saw me throwing that Warship and that Bard. And December of 2017, I got an email from Robert McCall, who was the team manager of Westside at the time, offering me a sponsorship for Westside. So just kind of fell into place because at that time, Latitude and DD jointly purchased the Westside brand, 2017, with plans to sort of ramp up the marketing and invest some money into the brand to build it up. Part of that marketing effort was to really develop their team of sponsored players and identify some areas in the United States where they wanted to have a bigger presence. So one of those areas was like the Mid-Atlantic region. And so here I was throwing my Warship and my Bard in New Jersey at a time where they were looking for a guy in New Jersey. So it all just kind of, I think, was meant to be.
Yeah.
And that was still quite a thrill to get offered a sponsorship. And Westside's become like a family to me. So I was just super grateful to get that opportunity.
It's awesome.
Yeah, Park, how about that?
Yeah. Oh, I could have told you that. Hey, there we go. Count it.
Side pocket birdie. I would like to announce my 2023 sponsor, and you heard it here first, Westside Discs. Wow. So I have officially re-signed with Westside. I'm very excited. I wouldn't dream of going anywhere else. They take great care of me. So I've officially signed on to return to Westside next year.
That's awesome.
I'm also going to continue my role as team captain. This will be my third year in that role. And my goal as team captain is just to provide really just a basic level of communication amongst our teammates. Keep everybody informed with what the brand is trying to do from a marketing standpoint. Some of the promotional efforts we're going to conduct throughout the year.
Sure. Promote
Our touring players like Matt Oram and Erica Stinchcombe. And really just alleviate some of the pressure from our team managers who have a lot on their plate. So the team captain role is important to kind of foster the family type feel that I think characterizes, you know, the Westside team as a whole. And our team is growing every year. I think we had maybe 17 or 18 players when I first started. Next year we may have over 50 players. So wow. The team is growing, and it makes the team captain role a little bit more crucial to keep everybody on the same page and keep everyone happy.
Yep, takes a village.
Takes a villa.
There we go.
So one of my favorite Westside discs is the King. This is the Josh Patton signature stamp. Josh is a great player from Louisiana, great member of Team Westside, and he sent me this King. It's perfect for this shot. This thing is a Hyzer flip machine. And this is one of my favorite holes here at Thompson.
Still.
Got knocked down, but
the dialogue that I've gotten playing in the last 3 years is that you want to throw the slowest disc you can. But you're telling me you're throwing a 14-speed disc on a 300-foot 50-wooden hole with a low ceiling, and you're birdieing it. Obviously, your game is very technically sound, so I wouldn't question that. But like, is that something you've just kind of grown up with your game, or?
I think you can't be afraid to try things. So for me, I mean, I think I've played Stafford a million times, but a couple days before the Cosmic Open, I was just out practicing, and I think on hole 1, threw a mid-range, threw a fairway driver, took out the 14 speed, threw that, and that parked it.
Yep.
So, you know what? I don't care what the distance is. I don't care about any of those factors. If it works, it works. So you just use the tool that gets the job done. I'll tell you, I don't get a lot of aces. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 a year. I think this year I only had 1.
I got you.
So I don't get a ton of aces, so I don't think that harp has ever banged one.
Okay. Wow. What a first one it would have been.
I know, on camera.
That's how I got hole 9 at Stafford. It was actually with a Villa harp.
Nice. Oh yeah, I remember that.
It was a Philadelphia stamped harp, which we still have available at CosmicDiscGolf.com. Plug right there. But it was dark, not playing glow, and it was the last hole of the day because we were playing in the dark. And I said, all right, time to ace. Threw it, lost it because it's dark out, and then heard chains and I ran.
And it was in.
I had to see if it was in.
See, there's good mojo on those Villa harps. So,
absolutely.
You know, everybody out there should be clamoring to grab the last few harps available at CosmicDG.com. Well, I guess I'll leave the HyzerMedia harp aces to my teammate Lucas. None for me today, but I'll take the tap-in birdie. Shout out to Lucas.
What is your favorite hole-in-the-wall course? Something that people wouldn't expect to be such a joy to play.
That's a good question, because for me, I often gauge courses really in terms of their fun factor. So like, for me, a course doesn't have to be super hard or super challenging. It just has to be fun.
Yep.
And so a great example of that, probably my favorite hole-in-the-wall course is Alcyon, because I can play it all day and you don't get tired. You can play 10 rounds in a day. You get to throw every disc in your bag. You get to throw different shots. It's not the hardest course in the world. Very well designed, very fun to play. And I would recommend Alcyon to anybody in the Philly area. If they haven't played it yet, go check it out, because it's a great example of what you can do with a small piece of property. If it's well designed, you can make one of the best courses in your state.
Absolutely. I've never gotten bored there. either.
That looks gorgeous. And the skip.
There we go.
He's putting.
Now, no qualifier. What is your favorite course?
I have a lot of favorite courses. I think my favorite course is called the Grand Canyon course. It's in Brooksville, Florida. It's a temp course, and it's where they have the Throw Down the Mountain tournament.
Okay.
And they set it up for basically 1 month out of the year, and they have the A tier. It's every year in March, and the property is epic. It looks like something straight out of Jurassic Park. It's an old abandoned quarry, and so there's no mountains in Florida, but so you're not throwing down a mountain, but you're throwing from the top of the quarry kind of into the quarry. So there's a lot of elevation, but you just see some of the most bizarre vegetation on that course. It's gorgeous. It's very hard. There's a lot of elevation, a lot of different types of holes. So one of my favorite courses, one of the most challenging courses, and it makes it even more special that it's only available to play 4 weekends a year, and you got to sign up for the tournament to play it. So
And now
it's
special
almost
to you as well.
Yeah, it was great kind of getting my first A-tier win there, but you know, aside from that, the course is probably, I would say, top of my list in terms of my favorite courses I've played so far.
Wow. That's a beauty.
So best signature hole now. And I won't let you use 18 at Grand Canyon.
Let's see. One of my favorite is hole 10 at Lake Eureka.
Okay.
Which is like known as the bridge hole.
Yes.
Because I've watched that tournament on video coverage for years, watching the Ledgestone, and then, you know, Worlds was there in 2019, and I always see players playing that bridge hole, and it looks so easy on film, and I got to play it for the first time in person this summer, and that hole is just longer than it looks, it's harder than it looks, there's OB everywhere, and I played that hole 3 times during Masters Worlds, and I 2'd it all 3 times, and it's just an epic shot because you're throwing over this old bridge with a trestle, and it's a high pressure shot. There's always a big gallery watching. So to deuce that hole 3 times in a row at Masters Worlds this year was pretty epic, and that's definitely a signature hole for that course.
Very nice birdie. Good birdie. And you're right, you can birdie from over there.
Yeah. Hey, when you have a warship, you can birdie from anywhere.
So you've done quite a bit of traveling for tournaments, as you just mentioned, Masters Worlds.
Yeah.
And I imagine eating on the road can be an issue. What is your go-to pre-tournament meal, and does that change depending on the region?
Ooh, good question. For me, it's fruit. I eat a lot of fruit, specifically.
Oh, okay.
Especially if you ever played a tournament with me, you'll always see me eating apples.
Gotcha.
You can get apples anywhere.
You're not a candy in the middle of the round kind of guy?
No.
You'd rather eat apple slices?
Yeah, I don't eat a lot of sweets, but you know, I like apples and oranges, so it was cool this time. Even in Europe, I was able to kind of just get apples at the grocery store for my rounds. And so, yeah, big fruit eater, so you'll see me eating a lot of apples and oranges.
Gotcha. And then post like win meal, like if you're going out to treat yourself after a big win, you know, after Myrtle Beach Open, you know,
Yeah.
what was your reward dinner?
Well, just like you can get apples anywhere in the country or in the world maybe before a tournament, you can get pizza anywhere too. So I think that's my one vice is pizza. So yeah, if I'm looking for a victory meal after a nice win, I'm gonna go out and get a couple slices for sure.
That's pretty. Wow. Chris, you got some sneaky distance.
Yeah, hey, especially with that sword.
Yes, absolutely. I have one of your swords. I'm a bit partial to Star Rates.
Yeah,
I think
this
because
is
one of
very
my
similar.
favorite players is Big Germ.
Yeah.
But the sword flew really similarly.
Yeah.
It's a wall hanger for me, so I'll have to
That's
get
cool.
I'll have to get your signature on it sometime.
Put some mojo on it for you. Yeah, they make great wall hangers. They make great throwers as well. So I appreciate anybody who bought any one of my swords this year or any of my fundraiser discs. I was kind of overwhelmed at the support that I got, and you know, the funds helped me get to Europe to play for Team USA, so I was very appreciative of that opportunity. So I got to just really thank anybody who supported me this year, because it meant so much to me.
So in Croatia, my understanding is you played doubles and singles.
Yeah.
In round robin and pool play.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you just describe a little bit more how that works?
No.
Okay.
No, it was a confusing format, but it was an amazing format because it was a style of disc golf. For me, coming from the States, and for my teammates on Team USA, we had never played before. Match play is kind of common around here.
Yep.
You know, Jersey has a big match play tournament, and you know, a lot of regions have different variations of match play. But for the most part, tournament players, we're just used to stroke play.
Yep.
And so to get to the World Cup event, which was a match play event, doubles and singles, the doubles was alternate shot. There's so much strategy involved.
Oh yeah.
And we learned a lot from the experience because we were kind of going into that format almost blind, not realizing kind of what the strategy was all about. So when the strategy does not pay off, you learn a lot about, hey, if we come back to this event in 2 years, now we kind of know what type of strategy you need to employ to be successful. And so it was a very stressful way to play golf, but it was very fun.
Nice.
And it makes for a compelling and a competitive format when you're playing. Match play is a great way to play golf.
I agree.
It's just a whole different animal versus traditional stroke play. So I think the U.S. was at a little bit of a disadvantage because the format was a little foreign to us. But I was proud that we played as well as we did. And if I have a chance to go back in 2 years, I think we'll have a better shot now that we kind of understand the format a little better.
Nice. So I gotta ask, because I was waiting for you to do it and you haven't done it today. I gotta ask you about your tap out routine. The flip, what do you call it?
I guess if somebody asked what it was called, I would probably refer to it as a paddle putt.
Okay. I gotta ask, I want you to know I'm 0 for 2 with that, so I'm never gonna do it again.
From what distance?
From 5 feet, but it's both on elevated baskets at Iron Hill. Both
Gotcha.
splash out right.
Yeah.
So, never doing it again. But I gotta know where that came from.
I don't remember if I saw someone else do it. All I know is, like, I have a certain range for it, which is about 10 feet, and I have never missed one in my life. I've missed 10-footers regular tap-in style, for sure, but I've never missed a paddle putt in a tournament. World Team Disc Golf Championship. So in Europe, they refer to it as the World Cup. Okay. And they do it every 2 years. It's always in a different city. So 2022 was in Croatia. 2020, it was canceled because of COVID. And the one before that, which I believe was 2018, that one was in Estonia. Okay. And then 2016, I think, was the first time they did it, and it was in Canada. And it's run by WFDF, the World Flying Disc Federation. Yes. And it's not run by the PDGA, which is why in America it's not a very well-known event. In fact, I had never heard of it prior to this year. But this year, the PDGA, for the first time, got involved. And they had a committee to kind of run the U.S. team, which is how I ended up getting invited onto the squad. So this was the first year the PDGA had some sort of affiliation with the event. And they haven't announced if and when they're going to do it in 2024. So I'd be curious to see, you know, what sort of country would be willing to host the event, because it's a really, really fun event. So I'm loving this Matty X Maiden lately for these like sort of straight to turnover shots. It's a very easy disc to throw. Sometimes it goes in, sometimes it doesn't, but it'll always get you close. So thank you, Matty O.
I gotta ask too about the spirit of the game score.
Yeah.
So let's get your perspective. What exactly am I talking about here? What is the spirit of the game score?
Yeah, so I had never heard of this before, but apparently in Europe, this is very common for disc golf events.
Okay.
And they employed the spirit of the game at the World Cup event this year.
Yep.
So the spirit of the game is after your round is done, you have to fill out, it's almost like a second scorecard, but you have to essentially rate the attitude of your competitors, whether they were nice or not nice, or helpful or not helpful. And you basically have to give them a score, which they refer to as their spirit. But it's a combination of sportsmanship, courtesy, positivity. And so knowing that you're going to be kind of graded and judged by your competitors at the end of your round, it makes you a little bit more conscious to like be polite, be nice, be outgoing.
If someone asks for a wind read,
yeah,
don't tell them the wrong wind.
Yeah, because that'll hurt your spirit score.
Do you have any advice for guys that are trying to come up in the competitive scene and make that next jump?
Yeah, I would think for guys who are trying to make that step to the next level in their career and maybe pursue disc golf as a full-time job or go on tour, just try it.
Yeah.
Do it, jump in. So you never want to get to a point in your life where you look back and you regret, man, I should have hopped in my car and went on tour that summer.
Right.
You know, give it a shot. There's never a better time than now, because 5-10 years from now, if you are not 10-30 rated, you cannot make it on tour.
Right.
We're kind of getting there already, aren't we? Right? And so now's the time for guys to go out and give it a shot. If you're 980, 990, and you're trying to get to 1,000, now's maybe your last chance to go out and see if you can kind of make it on the tour. Because in about 10 years, it's going to be like ball golf, where the best guy at ball golf at your local course could never make it on the pro tour.
Right.
Disc golf's going to get there, and every year we're getting closer to that reality. So now's the time if you're thinking about trying to go out and take a shot on tour. Sign up for the Disc Golf Pro Tour, get your card, go out and do it.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Hole 18 here. I'd love to hear your thoughts about where do you think the future of disc golf's going, not just play, but I know we talked about it moving over to Europe for more events. We already see that happening. Tour cards are already being implemented, and they're, you know, on the horizon of you have to have a tour card to play Pro Tour Elite Series events. Yeah, where do you see the future of disc golf going? Do you see the Pro Tour separating as its own entity from the PDGA? I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Yeah, all right. Well, let me see if I can pump a nice sword down this fairway first. So I see disc golf entering a crucial stage in its existence right now, and almost a fork in the road where I predict in, I don't know how many years, but you're probably going to see multiple concurrent tours. You're going to see the Pro Tour continue because I think they've established a business model that works.
Yep.
You're going to see a Masters Tour for sure. And I don't know how many years it's going to take for something like that to take off, but you're going to see guys 40-year-old plus be able to make a living on a Masters-specific tour. That's coming.
Yep.
And I think you're going to see the next generation of an amateur tour, kind of like what Feldberg is doing with the National Amateur Disc Golf Tour. I think that's going to, whether it's that entity just growing or maybe something taking its place, you're going to see a legitimate amateur tour where that's going to be full of guys 1,000 to 1020 rated, where you're just basically going to see your 1030, 1040, 1050 guys exclusively on the Pro Tour.
Right.
And so I think the next 10 years of the sport is very exciting because there's a lot of opportunities.
All right, one last chance out of two here.
Let's do it.
Oh, come on.
Woo!
Come on, knock a mix and heart.
All right, I guess no eagles today.
So with that, we conclude the first ever episode of Mitch-Information. I want to thank Chris Villa for coming on. I want to thank Dave Ulster from HyzerMedia for coming out to film, and I want to thank Dave Gronick from Cosmic Disc Golf. This has been great, and I'm sure that there are some more episodes coming in the future. Chris, thank you again.
Thank you, Mitch. Great playing with you, man.
Absolutely.